25th January 2025. This is ICAC Unpacked. I'm Norman Michaelation. Well, I wasn't planning to do any kind of a presentation today, but I wanted to do something on critical thinking, critical reading, because an article came out in the Dale City Patch. I've got it right here on my phone. And it's entitled "A Man Charged with Sexual Assault of Minor in Woodbridge." Okay, well, let's listen to this very short article, and then we'll deconstruct it a bit. Prince William County Police say the suspect and victim were Civil Air Patrol members when the sexual assaults occurred. That's the subheading. A man is facing charges for the sexual assault of a minor during his time as a Civil Air Patrol supervisor, according to Prince William County Police. Detectives had started investigating the March 2024 sexual assaults on April 5th. Right away. According to police, the female victim had been under 18 when the suspect sexually assaulted her in a vehicle at the commuter lot near Gordon Boulevard and Old Bridge Road in Woodbridge. The other incident happened in a parking lot in the 5100 block of Dale Boulevard in Dale City. I know where both of those are. Very common commuter lots as people go into the city. The victim and the suspect were both Civil Air Patrol members. Well, they said that already. The suspect had a supervisor role overseeing the victim. Well, that's what supervisory would mean, correct? The victim had later reported the assaults to the relative who contacted police. Detectives obtained arrest warrants, for the suspect, Keith Richard Wilson, 48 of Woodbridge, who turned himself in on July 22nd. Voluntarily. He was charged with counts of indecent liberties by a person. Counts, no number. Indecent liberties by a person in a supervisory relationship, and was held on a $25,000 unsecured bond. No other charges. Below are other notable recent events. Oh, okay, that's the end of this article, and that shows a picture of him at the end. He had a $25,000 unsecured bond. Okay, let's look at the article. First of all, he had sex with a minor. He's clearly a 40-something-year-old man. That you can see. I think that's pretty obvious. Besides the poorly written article mentioning several times that he was a supervisor, it's interesting he said he had charges. Counts, they call it. Well, how many? Indecent liberties by a person in a supervisory relationship, but not rape. Not rape. Not aggravated sexual assault or something like that. Charges because he was in a supervisory relationship. We don't know how old the minor is, but generally, if it's a young person, they don't say minor under the age of 18. Usually when they put it that way, it's 17 or 16. Not always, but often. So how old was this person? And there's a quick turnaround on the assaults charges, the complaint to the police department. But you do have to wonder, were they consensual at first? And then something happened later that turned them non-consensual? Did the person feel coerced? We don't know any of that stuff. There are several others that go on that talk about in the same vein as sexual abuse, delinquency of a minor, and they're in the same article at the end, but they have nothing to do with this particular article. Curiously, there's also a report that came out at the same time, and this report from the Patch talked about all crimes being down, which is interesting. This comes out of the New York Post, I think it is, not the Patch. And the Post is very right-leaning, and they're usually talking about how crime is really high. They've lately been talking about it a lot. Now, all of a sudden, crime is low in all categories except for shoplifting, which is way up. So you do have to wonder when you're reading these several things. What's the source? Does the article have a political bent? Does it have a public socioeconomic or socio-political bent? In other words, the police have a vested interest in putting the article in a certain way. And you say, well, Norm, the police didn't write the article. No, that's true, but they are in with media because, as I pointed out to you, media will go and look at the police blotter and ask a couple of questions, and they never get around to investigating it, each individual case. They simply report what the police say. And that would be fine if they say at the top, disclaimer, this is as a result of interviews with the police. We have not talked to the victims or the families on this. Then you would actually have a little bit more information on that. But the article is deliberately slanted in favor of the police. So we have counts. We have a minor under the age of 18. In Civil Air Patrol, very often those are anywhere between 15 and 17. We don't know what the relationship was. We don't know anything about it. We don't know why it was an assault and not a rape. If it was violent, if it was unwelcome at first, why wouldn't it have been a rape? Usually, police like to rack, stack, and pack charges on there. So it's simply felony. It doesn't even say felony, really. It says counts. Counts based on supervisory relationship with the young person. And as you know, in a lot of states, and I hear this from people all the time, but Norm, 16 is the age of consent in X state. That's true. But the way the legislature gets you is they look at, not just the age of consent, but the spread between the age of the so-called victim and the age of the so-called perpetrator. And again, I say so-called because it's not always clear. When it is, certainly, you shouldn't be doing that. But it's not always clear. Because as we're finding, police are waiting to a 17-year-old with a 16-year-old girlfriend when that 17-year-old, often a male, turns 18, then they file charges. They file charges of going after a minor. And they rack, pack, and stack those. So, there's when you read an article like this, just keep in mind, you don't have all the facts. You don't know what's going on. You don't know why they put certain information the way they did. Surely they got it from the police. Hopefully we look forward to a further article where they explain just what the counts were, where maybe they mention the age of the minor instead of just saying under 18, because they haven't been shy about listing the age of minors. And then you'll have a better sense of it. But always remember, when you're reading a potentially scandalous, potentially scatological article, that you question the facts in the article, particularly if it has to do with a publicly sensitive issue. All right, an issue that anywhere from inflation to border on the political side to sex or treatment of the mentally disabled. You don't know what happened. All you know is the little bit in the article. We know that there was sex and commuter lots involving a much older woman and a young woman who was a minor. That's all we know. So just bear that in mind the next time you read one of these articles. Ask yourself some critical thinking questions. With that, have a wonderful day.